All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 brought to us by the official beer of the program, Johnny Cuba. That's how we enjoy the Heat game tonight. Heat Nets. I'll be sitting on the couch in the Zaslow Mansion family room. We got a Johnny Cuba in my hand. You can pick up a six-pack of Johnny Cuba, your local Sedano's, Presidente, Winn-Dixie, Fresco y Mas, European roots with that Caribbean soul, a refreshing German lager in a can. Remember, always drink responsibly, and of course, don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. Sirius XM, NBA radio every afternoon. Justin Termine, Eddie Johnson. We like having Justin Termine on the show, even though I would say a very grand majority of my listeners most likely dislike Justin Termine very, very much. I think if most Heat fans if we were to take a poll of Heat fans, the media members they dislike the most, where do you think you would rank Justin Termine among the Heat fans' distaste for the national media members?
Well, I think I'd be pretty high up there, but one, I don't understand it because just recently, like I was saying, Jimmy Butler should be playing and I was throwing a fit and I'm like, the Heat fans should be on my side. Why wouldn't you want to see your best players play? So I thought I was standing up for the Heat fan in that particular incident, but I don't have any issue with the Heat fan. In fact, I've learned that they're very passionate. My problem might be with the way that the team is covered a little bit more, just coming from the Northeast where like the media gets on the case of the team and holds them accountable rather than makes excuses for him. So I think my issue is more with the media that covers the Heat outside, of course, of you, Zaz, and not with the fan base. No issue with the fan base. In fact, they're a lot more passionate than I probably thought they were 3 or 4 years ago.
Well, I think that is part of it, that the Heat fan, and this doesn't necessarily apply to you, but, you know, for the national media members who believe the Heat fan has a persecution complex, I'm glad to hear you say that part because the Heat fan gets a lot of crap when the fact of the matter is, take away maybe the behavior on Twitter, that kind of deal. The Heat fan gives fantastic support to the team. I mean, we can make jokes about them showing up late or what have you, as if the Heat are the only building that fans show up late. But we can make those jokes. Fact of the matter is, every game is sold out for almost 20 years now. It's a hell of an accomplishment. They have great, great fan support. You see on Twitter how passionate they are, the social media, all of that stuff. The Heat fan, I think part of the Heat fans' problem with a lot of the national media is, we're not still back in 1999 where, they had to recolor the yellow seats at the arena because they stood out so much because they're always empty. Like, we're so far past those days down here.
Yeah, so and listen, it's not, it might not be the Northeast, but who is, right? Like Ilyasova, I think a couple of years ago made the comments about like, I was playing in an empty arena in the first round against the Heat, and then they were going to play the Celtics in the second round, and he's like, this is a big time adjustment. But I would also say, like, you get that in Philadelphia, you get that in New York, where you have that like rabidness of the fan. It's just not like that it's not a Miami thing. It's not like I'm out in Los Angeles right now. I go to a Clippers game, the Clippers, crowd is dead. The Lakers fan is not, New York, Boston, Philadelphia. The middle of the country is. And if you go to like a Pacers game, if you go to a Magic game also down in Florida, so it's something in the Northeast where people, I think, just in general are angrier. Sure. I mean, you go down south, you go out west, and, I'd walk around like when I go to a football game at like Ole Miss or Alabama, people are saying hello to me. I'm ready to snap because I'm used to walking around the city, the streets of New York where everybody's absolutely miserable. So I think it's just a difference in like, people in general. It's not anything that has to do with the fan base.
But you don't hate the Heat. You are not a Heat hater.
No, like, so the media drives me nuts because I think they like stand up for the team and they try and do the team's bidding like that. Whereas like you'll get in like Boston, a Dan Shaughnessy or a Peter Vesey or a Frank Isola, who I work with. They're actually like going at management. They're going at the coaches. They're holding guys accountable when something fails. And let's be honest, Pat Riley failed this offseason. I mean, he has failed the last couple of off seasons. Spoelstra's done a great job. Butler's done a great job. Bam, the roster has done their end of the bargain. But I don't think Riley has gone out there, especially when guys are begging to go down and play there and getting that second star. And, everybody just kind of holds the water in my estimation. So that's really my issue with the Heat media. In regards to like the Heat as an organization or a team, my issue is more with the league and not instituting policies to sort of make up for maybe the lack of like an income tax down there. Because I do think you have an advantage when somebody out in Sacramento, if they make $100 million, has got to give 13 million of that back. Meanwhile, down in Miami, you get 100 of 100. So I think that there's competitive issues, but that's on the league. That's not in the Heat. They should be taking advantage of it.
Well, the way that you get rid of that is what baseball does. You have no salary cap. If there's no salary cap, that takes away, believe it or not, the competitive advantage, because then it's about, okay, how much money does the owner actually want to spend?
Well, then you have like Steve Ballmer could do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So issues like pop up. I know I worked with Mike Dunleavy Sr. a couple of years ago, who actually ran NBA organizations, and he thought that was one of the top things at the top of the list was just curbing things with like the income tax, whether that's, and again, this is way above my head in regards to being intelligent enough to figure out how you would do this. And I don't think that there's enough push around the league to even make this happen. But Dunleavy Sr., it happened to be an issue for him like it is for me. And it was just instituting some type of thing where maybe you can spend a little bit less money down there, or guys can make a little bit more in those areas to make up for the difference.
What should Pat Riley have done different this offseason?
Well, I mean, if he didn't offer Tyler Hero, that's one of them, right? And he claims he didn't offer Tyler Hero, which is ironic.
That come on.
So nobody's buying that. Yeah, nobody's buying that. I mean, I guess maybe just like not put all his eggs in one basket. And this is my criticism of Riley, right? Who, again, I throw out, like, I say Spoelstra is the best head coach in the sport. Okay. Like, I was going back and forth last couple of years with him and Nick Nurse. Clearly it's Eric Spoelstra right now. Ty Lue's great as well. So I give him the credit. With Riley, like, I still say, all right, it's Red Auerbach, it's Jerry West, it is Pat Riley. Like, when I'm rattling off the great executives of all time, but I also say, like, let him do what John Horst did. Let him do what Masai Ujiri did. Let him do what Danny Ainge did and put together teams in non destination markets and win there. And I guess my criticism of Riley is the last couple of years is he's putting all his eggs in one basket where it's like, all right, I'm going to chase the big name, Kevin Durant. I'm going to chase Damian Lillard. And I'm really not going to have a backup plan in regards to like doing the smaller things around the periphery to make sure that I have a team if I miss out on those guys. And again, like he does a great job in finding guys like Max Strus, Gabe Vincent that you plug in and Spoelstra gets a ton out of. Kendrick Nunn's now got to play overseas. He looked like a Rookie of the Year candidate when he was playing in Miami. So they do find nice guys like that. But you can't just put all your eggs in one basket and then swing and miss on all these guys, especially when Jimmy Butler, a guy who drives me nuts in some regard, right? I think he's going to do that to anybody around the league when he's beating your team. I really think he's done him a disservice because he hasn't found him that second star, despite guys wanting to go there and him having ample opportunity. It's not like he's stuck in Charlotte, right? Or he's got to convince, he's David Griffin back in, Kobe Altman trying to convince guys to go play in Cleveland with LeBron James, which he's an all-time great player, but guys don't want to play there. Like you have Butler, who, is a winning player, and you can sell Miami and the income tax and the weather and all that type of stuff. And we haven't got anybody down there recently.
I think, unfortunately, what's hurt the Heat and is what's going to continue to hurt them unless something drastically changes is there's no such thing as the big player hitting free agency anymore. That's over. Now, back then you could land the big whale, you get the cap space or what have you. When you're a destination like Miami, all you got to do is convince the player to come and play for you. Yes. And these guys want to play in Miami. But now they all sign for the money. They get the huge extension and they become a free agent essentially whenever they want, when they're under contract. So it's nice that the player, i.e. Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal even, want to go to Miami, but you got to convince the player and the team to send him over to you in a trade. There's no such thing as the big player hitting free agency anymore, Justin.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, unless they're coming from Toronto, where Masai Ujiri seems to let everybody just hit free agency and doesn't really ask for anything in return. I mean, that's one of the reasons that you're able to get Kyle Lowry, right? Is he hit free agency, then you do the sign and trade, but you're 100%. Now, is it still easier down there? Yes, because a lot of these guys are going to demand that they want to go play there. You heard Bradley Beal say, "I wanted to go down and play," and again, that's a swing and a miss. Like, why not settle for Bradley Beal when you didn't have to give up much? You wouldn't have to give up.
That's the key right there. They don't want to settle. They didn't want to settle.
Well,
they wanted Lillard.
Yeah, exactly. So that's part of the issue. Like you can settle and still win. Like, were they Denver was so good last year, but like, were they, if you just add Bradley Beal and you don't give up Tyler Hero and you don't really give up many pieces, like how much better does that even make you? It makes you like it probably puts you in that conversation, at least, with Boston and Milwaukee, if not ahead of those teams this year, makes you feel pretty confident. But it's still easier down there because Donovan Mitchell, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, like they all asked to be there, and they're not asking to go to other locations. Like, and there are teams that didn't take the chance on Lillard this year, right? Because he didn't want to go there. Because I think Philadelphia, I think Boston, might have probably, sprung for Damian Lillard if he said, "Yeah, I wouldn't mind playing there." Milwaukee said, "Hey, listen, we're going to have to take a chance just because if we don't, Giannis might walk."
I was listening to you guys the other day and you were talking about Jimmy Butler. I guess it was the day after. Well, no, it couldn't have been the day after. So maybe it was on Monday because it was Saturday that he sat. And you guys were talking about Jimmy Butler sitting in game number 3. I mean, heck, it was either that night or the next night that Joel Embiid was questionable to rest in the Sixers home opener.
Yeah.
I can't sit here and be a huge phony and not get upset about Jimmy Butler sitting out in the third game of the season. The fact of the matter is, Butler has not been good so far in the 3 games he's played. It's almost as if maybe he should have played in the preseason. Maybe he should have played in the preseason and also played in the 3rd game of the year because he doesn't look ready to play regular season basketball yet.
Yeah, and it just happened that it was Jimmy Butler that we exploded on. Believe me, if Joel Embiid sat the home opener on the 3rd day of the season, I would have erupted and he would have had the most of my ire. Instead, it happened to be Jimmy Butler. And a couple of different reasons. One is it's like Butler's the guy that's always like Butler's the old school guy, right? Like Butler's the guy that's like, hey, he's from
they're the old school organization as well.
Yeah. And like Pat Riley, where, can you imagine this happening with the Knicks when he's asking injured guys, can you give me 5 minutes tonight? Right. Who was that? Charles Smith, where he's like, I think it was Charles Smith, where he's like, can you give me 5 minutes tonight? Then why are you dressed in street clothes, right? And now we've got Jimmy Butler doing this where he's not playing. So it seems like Riley has changed a little bit or given Jimmy Butler a lot of control. Because again, like, the look that he had on media day, is that something old school Pat Riley is doing?
Well, can I tell you what I think the difference is with Riley? Yeah. I don't think it's that Riley's necessarily changed and handed things over to, say, Jimmy Butler. Yeah. I think Eric Spoelstra is in a place where he's not really below Riley anymore. At the very least, he's on an even field. Where you go back 10 years ago when LeBron and Chris Bosh were here, Eric Spoelstra, when LeBron and Bosh got here, Spoelstra was entering his 3rd year as head coach. Eric Spoelstra now stands on his own. That's what I think it's about.
So do you think Riley likes it? He doesn't mind? He's just like, give the controls to Spoelstra?
I think my guess is that Riley understands that, hey, like, this guy's earned it. I could be the president of the team, but I'm not in charge of day to day. This is his show.
Yeah. So, and going back to the, the Butler sitting thing, like he misses 4 consecutive games in Minnesota. This was my thing. Like he's calling Karl Anthony Towns soft. And not that I disagree that Karl Anthony Towns isn't soft. Like I agree with Jimmy Butler on that front. He seems to have hit that pretty solidly. Same thing with Ben Simmons. But it's like, then go out and kick his ass, right? I mean, that's what we would see like with guys going up against their former team. It'd be the opposite. Like guys would be going like, I have to do everything I can to play against this team, not everything I can do to sit against this team. And I guess the final thing that would bother, like me and you, we both like love the NBA. You're listening to our station on NBA radio where it's just NBA talk. You're watching all these games. You're doing so in October, November, December. Like I want these games to matter, right? And like I thought that was horrible a couple of years ago when Cleveland beat Golden State. Remember when they won 73 games and Cleveland just kind of, cruised through the regular season? I knew that was bad for the NBA because I said this is a team that tried and then they ended up losing, and people blamed, oh, well, they tried too hard in the regular season. They got burnt out, right? Like, so that was bad for the league. And yes, you guys down in Florida had a fun time last year, but it was bad for the NBA for a 7th or 8th seed to make it all the way to the finals. And I just hope that's not something that the Heat are going to say, all right, we're fine with trying to do again, because that's kind of what it told you when they sat Jimmy Butler out of the 3rd game of the season. And I'm not going to say Bam wasn't hurt against Milwaukee, but,
he certainly was. He tried to play.
Yeah.
He doesn't sit out.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, if that was something where he sat out and he wasn't necessarily banged up, that would bother me too, because like, I think you have to have the approach of, we do need to have like a top 4 seed in order to compete, in order to win a championship, because like, again, as much respect of Eric Spoelstra and even Jimmy Butler come postseason time, I don't think it's realistic for a 2nd consecutive year to win 3 consecutive road series in order to get back to the NBA Finals. So I just hope their approach is, and you know what, we're going to mail in the regular season. We're fine finishing 6th, 7th, 8th, and then once we get there, we'll turn it on.
Are you able to get fired up over the in-season tournament, which begins at the end of this week? Are you into it?
So I'm somebody that's like a traditionalist. If it was 1979's and they like instituted the 3-point line on my watch and I'd be covering the sport for 10 years, I would have exploded.
3-point line's so good.
Yeah, I would have, what the hell is this with the 3-point line? It's ridiculous. They're rooting Walter J. Kennedy is rooting the sport. So in the play-in tournament, like, it's grown on me a little bit, even though I was first upset about it. The reason I don't like it is like, I don't want teams going, all right, well, we can fall back into 9th or 10th.
No. In-season tournament. In-season.
No, I know what you're talking about. But
okay.
I'm saying like the play-in tournament, with that, like I originally was cold on it. Okay. I've warmed up to it a little bit, even though like my issue would be like the West would be so much better without the play-in tournament.
I like the play-in. I like it.
Yeah, but the West this year would be better without it, because I think there's like 10 teams that really, or 11 teams that are really good. So I'd like to see them fight for 8 spots. But anyway, the point is I've warmed up on all of this. So I'm actually warming up on the in-season tournament. One, it might be because I'm going and like, hey, I get to go to Vegas in December, take a 4-day trip. So like that might be for selfish reasons, but anything to make these games matter a little bit more when they seem to be losing some worth, at least in the fans' eyes, I'm all for. So I'll give it a shot, which I don't think I would have like a year or two ago.
I'm super skeptical. How am I going to get myself charged up for Friday night against the Wizards, which is what the Heat have, as if that means something. Okay. But I feel like once the game's going on, that I may put a little more value on the game, that maybe I will be into these in-season tournament games. I'm trying right now. I'm very skeptical. I'm trying to be into these.
I'm with you. And again, like, am I going to go, like, if my team win, am I going to go, oh yeah. Or if like James Harden wins with the Clippers, well, there you go. Harden coming up big in a big spot there.
Now you love the Celtics. Will the Celtics put up a banner?
I like, maybe the league forces them to, right? Like I said, the best thing for the league is probably for like LeBron to win it, because if LeBron wins it, then he'll talk about how important it is. But if LeBron loses it, then LeBron will sit there and go, well, it's not a big deal. We weren't trying, we're all focused on an NBA championship. So it's almost like the best team that could win it would probably be the Lakers, because then you'd get LeBron like pumping up how important it is and that it means something, etc.
Do you believe how much do you believe the Harden trade to the Clippers moves the needle for LA? Because I don't think it moves the needle at all. I think if you were able to tell me that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are going to be healthy, I think they're a championship team. And I still believe the same thing now with adding Harden. I don't think it moves the needle for them at all.
No, I think it moves it a little bit, only in that I didn't think that they could win it before. Now, I don't know if they can win it now, and they're not the favorite right now, but at least it shakes things up a little bit, right? So the unknown is better than what I thought before, and what I thought before was they have no chance at a title. Now with James Harden, like, maybe they still have no shot, but it's like worth seeing, because we don't know, right? And I guess if like Harden's going to play like he did in a couple of those games last year in the second round, and Kawhi and Paul George are both going to be healthy, then maybe they have a shot. But I would still put them behind Denver. I like the Lakers coming into the season. The Lakers have looked to me brutal so far, but I think they'll get their act together. I'm not sure that they're as good as the Lakers, or the Celtics or the Bucks, but like it's worth a shot. Go all in. What do you have to lose other than your future, which doesn't look very bright in LA with the Clippers? But I think it was worth a shot, to be honest.
What about Philadelphia? Do you like what they got? I think there's still another move to be made for them.
So do I. So I like it based off. I think that they can move some of those pieces. Like, look at Toronto. Toronto's 1-3. They just lost to Portland the other day. So OG Anunoby, Siakam, you would think like that's going to expedite them leaving there. They've got stuff to offer. Same thing with Chicago. Chicago right now, I think Chicago's 2-2. They're still a mess. They had a team meeting. Zach Levine, DeMar DeRozan. Okay, you add that to Joel Embiid in this version of Tyrese Maxey. They have a shot. I think that deal yesterday, at the very least, it improved them. I think that they now, I had them as my predictions at the beginning of the season. I can already throw them out. I had them as the 6th seed. I think they're pretty clearly the 3rd best team in the Eastern Conference right now. Now, again, does that mean they do anything in the postseason? I still don't have much confidence in Joel Embiid in that spot. But I think it was a step in the right direction.
What have you seen of Wembanyama so far? Give me some thoughts there.
Yeah, you could tell that he's just going to be a superstar if he stays healthy. He's got the mental makeup. He defensively, he's already there. Now, I think it's just being surrounded by better talent. And one of the issues that you need for any big guy or guy that needs to be given the ball is a point guard. Right now, they don't have that. Trey Jones maybe is as close as they have to that. I would have liked to have seen him pick up a veteran point guard in the offseason to be able to get him the ball in the spots where, are necessary. And you see it, nobody knows how to throw a post-up pass, right? So he's 7'5". I still yet to see him really post up, and that's just a problem in general in the league today. And I think Popovich is still getting used to how to use him. But from a skill perspective, how he sees the game, the way he can utilize his length, I think the guy is going to be a super duper star. What do you think?
Last night he had a great second half. We obviously saw how the game finished. He's like an alien running around. I had to explain to my wife. We were sitting around, we were flipping by the channel. She goes, "Who the hell is that guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's an alien. He's the number 1 pick. He's 7'4". We've never seen a guy like him. I think he looks fun as hell. I think you're right. I think that you need to get a guy there. You need to get someone who could help get him the ball. And I would like to see him use his size a little bit more. Be around the basket a little bit more. He hangs around the perimeter way too much. Yeah. Maybe he doesn't want to bang yet. Maybe he wants to put on a little bit of muscle. I don't know. But yeah, he looks fun as hell.
Yeah. Chet's been better so far, but Wembanyama, you could tell.
He's also been around the NBA for a year, Chet, Do you have a problem with Chet being in contention for Rookie of the Year?
I don't care enough. I could see how people might have an issue with it.
Because that happened with Simmons, right?
Yeah, it happened with Simmons. I think it happened with Embiid, where he missed his first couple of seasons, and then he came in and played. It's happened before.
Yeah. Blake Griffin as well, I think.
Yeah, Blake Griffin. Or did Blake get hurt in his first game? Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. But maybe it happened with Blake as well. I remember he got hurt almost immediately. Julius Randle, but
he played. Randle played 7 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe Randle's the guy that played. Blake didn't. But the point is, there's so many other things going on in the world. I just don't care.
Who is leading the MVP race right now?
I think it's that's a 2-man race, I guess, but I get yelled. If I did this on my show, I'd have so many people going because I've gotten into a fight with another host at Sirius where one time in passing, I think in February, I mentioned I thought he's like, that's too early to talk about the MVP. But so now it certainly is. But the 2 best starts have come. I'll give the 3 best starts. Have Jokic, Luka, and Steph Curry to me have been the 3 best starts.
You got to have MVP watch from the very first day of the season.
Exactly.
You got to be on that. Termine, tell everybody how they can listen to you. I, of course, listen every day. Go ahead.
All right, so it's Sirius XM NBA Radio, 4 to 7 Eastern time. Unfortunately, it's not solo like you here on the ZASLOW Show 2.0. I have to work with Eddie Johnson. So 4 to 7 Eastern time, Monday through Friday. Eddie Johnson, Sirius XM NBA Radio, channel 86.
Is he going to be sour about his Suns this afternoon?
Oh, he's going to be. I've already seen him tweeting up a storm. I had to mute him last night. So he's blaming Reggie Miller for the loss, apparently.
Is he going to blame Isola for the loss?
I saw anybody but the Suns. Yes.
Excellent job, Termine. Thanks for hanging out with us, man.
All right, Zaz. Thanks for having me on, buddy.